In just 62 seconds, $2.4 million in questionable consulting fees. Pam Bondi didn't expect the FBI director to have receipts, she stammered. Cameras zoomed in. The Senate chamber erupted in whispers. What did Bondi defend about Kash Patel that only revealed her own deception? At exactly 2:17 p.m. on March 15, 2024, Senate Judiciary Committee hearing room buzzed with tension. Mahogany desks gleamed under harsh fluorescent lights, cameras positioned like vultures circling prey. Pam Bondi walked in like she already knew the verdict, but her binder nearly fell from her hands. Her navy blazer was wrinkled, her usually perfect hair slightly disheveled. She clutched a stack of papers that seemed thicker than necessary, compensating for what she knew was coming. Across the room, FBI Director Christopher Wray sat like a predator, spotting weakness. His flag pin caught the light, his briefcase positioned precisely, bottled water untouched. He had been waiting for this moment for months. Behind him, staffers shuffled through classified folders, occasionally whispering into secure phones. The hearing was supposed to be routine. Bondi was testifying about Department of Justice reforms, defending her nominee Kash Patel for FBI director. What nobody expected was that Wray had been quietly building a case against both of them. Senator Dick Durbin called the session to order. Miss Bondi, you're here to discuss Mr. Patel's qualifications. Let's begin with his consulting work between. Bondi's voice was steady, rehearsed. Senator Kash Patel is eminently qualified. His private sector experience strengthened his understanding of national security, specifically his $2.4 million in consulting fees from undisclosed foreign entities. Bondi's jaw clenched slightly. Those were legitimate business arrangements, completely legal and properly disclosed. Director Wray leaned forward. His movement was subtle but deliberate. He knew something she didn't. Ms. Bondi, Senator Lindsey Graham interrupted. Are you certain about those disclosures? Absolutely certain. Mr. Patel filed all required paperwork with the Office of Government Ethics. That's when Wray stood up. The room fell silent. Even the court reporters stopped typing. Excuse me, senators. May I present evidence to the committee? Bondi's eyes darted nervously. Her hands began shaking almost imperceptibly. This wasn't in the script. Wray wasn't supposed to interrupt her testimony. Director Wray, Chairman Durbin, nodded. You have the floor. Wray opened his briefcase with surgical precision. He withdrew a manila folder marked classified eyes only. The cameras zoomed in on his hands as he broke the seal. Senators, 3 hours ago, the FBI completed a comprehensive audit of Mr. Patel's foreign consulting arrangements. Ms. Bondi's testimony contains several material inaccuracies. Bondi's face went pale. Her voice quivered as she tried to interrupt. Director Wray, I object to this ambush. It's not an ambush, Miss Bondi. It's evidence. Wray spread 3 documents across the witness table. Bank statements, wire transfer records, communication intercepts, each page stamped with FBI authentication seals. Mr. Patel received $2.4 million from Petrobras Strategy Group, a consulting firm with undisclosed ties to Brazilian intelligence services. None of this was reported to the Office of Government Ethics. The room erupted. Republicans shouted objections. Democrats demanded answers. Camera flashes exploded like strobe lights. But Wray continued, his voice cutting through the chaos. Furthermore, Ms. Bondi personally signed off on Mr. Patel's security clearance renewal in 2023, despite having knowledge of these unreported payments. Bondi stood up abruptly, papers scattering across the floor. That is absolutely false. I had no knowledge. Wray held up a single sheet of paper. Your signature, Miss Bondi, dated September 12, 2023. Approving Mr. Patel's top-secret clearance renewal with the notation financial disclosures reviewed and cleared. The silence was deafening. For exactly 62 seconds, nobody spoke. The only sound was the mechanical whir of cameras and the nervous tapping of Bondi's pen against the microphone. Senator Josh Hawley broke the silence. Ms. Bondi, did you or did you not review Mr. Patel's financial disclosures before signing this clearance renewal? Bondi's mouth opened and closed, like a fish gasping for air. Well, the process involves multiple layers of review. That's not what I asked, Hawley pressed. Yes or no? The clearance process is complex, Senator. There are protocols. Ms. Bondi, Director Wray interrupted gently. May I share what our investigation revealed about those protocols? Bondi slumped back into her chair. Her binder lay forgotten on the floor, pages spread like fallen leaves. Her voice was barely audible. Go ahead. Wray consulted his notes. Our investigation found that Ms. Bondi personally expedited Mr. Patel's clearance renewal. Bypassing standard financial review procedures, she signed the approval without waiting for the completed background check. The implications hit the room like a thunderclap. Bondi hadn't just made an error. She had deliberately circumvented security protocols to help Patel hide his foreign payments. Senator Amy Klobuchar leaned into her microphone. Ms. Bondi, are you saying you signed a security clearance renewal without actually reviewing the financial disclosure? Bondi's hands were visibly trembling now. Sweat beaded on her forehead despite the air conditioning. Senator, the timeline was compressed. We were under pressure to complete the renewal quickly. Pressure from whom? Klobuchar demanded. I can't recall specifically. Director Wray flipped to another page in his folder. According to phone records subpoenaed by the FBI, Ms. Bondi received 7 calls from Mr. Patel in the 48 hours before she signed his clearance renewal. The final call lasted 37 minutes. The room buzzed with whispers. Reporters frantically typed on their phones. C-SPAN viewers watched in real time as one of Trump's key nominees imploded on live television. Senator Ted Cruz, usually Bondi's ally, looked stunned. Ms. Bondi, this is highly irregular. Why didn't you disclose these conversations to the committee? Bondi's voice cracked. I didn't think they were relevant. You didn't think a 37-minute conversation with the nominee was relevant to his security clearance? Cruz's voice rose in disbelief. Wray stood again, this time holding a digital tablet. Senators, with the committee's permission, I'd like to play a brief excerpt from that 37-minute conversation. The blood drained from Bondi's face. That conversation was privileged. Actually, it wasn't, Wray corrected. Mr. Patel called you on an unsecured line from his consulting office. The NSA routinely monitors such communications for foreign intelligence purposes. Chairman Durbin nodded grimly. Play the recording, Director Wray. The speakers crackled to life. Patel's voice, tinny but clear. Pam, you've got to push this clearance through. If they dig too deep into the Petrobras money, we're both screwed. Bondi's voice on the recording. Don't worry, Kash. I'll handle the paperwork. Just make sure your story stays consistent. The room exploded. Senators shouted over each other. Gallery spectators gasped audibly. Security guards moved closer to the witness table, as if expecting Bondi to flee. But she just sat there, staring at the microphone, her political career disintegrating in real time. Senator Durbin called for order. Miss Bondi, do you wish to revise your previous testimony? Bondi looked up with the expression of someone who had just realized she was drowning. Senator, I need to consult with my attorney. That's your right, Durbin replied. But I should inform you that the Justice Department will be reviewing this testimony for potential perjury charges. Director Wray began packing his folder. His expression remained neutral, professional, but there was a slight satisfaction in his movements, the quiet confidence of someone who had just checkmated an opponent. Director Wray, Senator Graham called out, How long has the FBI been investigating these matters? Since November 2023, when we first identified the suspicious financial patterns in Mr. Patel's accounts. And you waited until today to reveal this information? We waited until Ms. Bondi's testimony created a prosecutable case for perjury. The implications were staggering. The FBI had known about Patel's foreign payments for months. They had been watching, waiting for Bondi to lie under oath. It was a carefully orchestrated trap, and she had walked directly into it. Social media erupted within minutes. Twitter trends included Bondolese, Patelgate, and FBI receipts. TikTok videos mocked Bondi's stammering responses. MSNBC interrupted regular programming for breaking news coverage. Even Fox News struggled to defend the indefensible. CNN's Jake Tapper summed it up perfectly. In 62 seconds, Pam Bondi went from Trump's Attorney General nominee to a potential defendant in a perjury case. As the gavel slammed down, ending the session, Bondi remained frozen in her chair for a full 30 cerces. Her hands gripped the edge of the witness table so tightly, her knuckles went white. The chamber slowly emptied around her, but she seemed unable to process what had just happened. Senator Josh Hawley approached the witness table, his expression unreadable. "Ms. Bondi, I've known you for 8 years. I never thought I'd see you perjure yourself on live television." Bondi finally looked up, her eyes glassy with unshed tears. "Josh, you don't understand the pressure we were under. The transition team demanded loyalty above everything else." "Loyalty doesn't include breaking federal law," Hawley replied quietly, before walking away. Director Wray packed his materials methodically, occasionally glancing at Bondi with what might have been sympathy. As the ranking FBI official, he had seen countless public figures destroy their careers with lies, but this felt different. This was personal. "Director," Bondi called out as he reached the chamber door. Her voice was hoarse, defeated. Wray turned slowly. "Yes, Miss Bondi. How long have you known about the Brazilian connection?" Wray paused, considering his words carefully. "Long enough to hope you wouldn't lie about it under oath." The weight of those words hit her like a physical blow. The FBI hadn't just been investigating Patel, they had been giving her every opportunity to tell the truth. She had chosen deception instead. As Bondi finally stood to leave, her legs wobbled slightly. The stress of the past hour had drained every ounce of adrenaline from her system. Her chief of staff, Maria Santos, rushed to her side. "Ma'am, we need to get you out of here. The press is waiting outside." But as they approached the chamber exit, the hallway erupted into chaos. Dozens of reporters surged forward, cameras flashing, microphones thrust into her face. "Ms. Bondi, will you withdraw your nomination? Do you plan to cooperate with the perjury investigation? What did Trump know about Patel's foreign payments?" Bondi's security detail pushed through the crowd, but she couldn't escape the questions. At the elevator bank, she finally stopped and turned to face the media scrum. "I stand by my testimony," she said, her voice barely audible over the shouting. "Mr. Patel is qualified to lead the CNN's Caitlin Collins pushed forward. "Ms. Bondi, we just heard audio of you and Patel discussing covering up foreign payments. How is that standing by your testimony?" Bondi's composure finally cracked completely. Her voice rose to almost a shout. That conversation was taken out of context. The media is destroying an innocent man's reputation. But even as she said it, her eyes betrayed her. She knew she was lying again, and everyone watching could see it. The elevator doors opened, and her staff quickly ushered her inside. As the doors closed, the last image was of Bondi slumped against the wall, her face buried in her hands. Within an hour, the hashtag #BondMeltdown was trending nationwide. The elevator footage went viral on TikTok, with users adding dramatic music and commentary. late-night comedians had a field day. Stephen Colbert opened his show by saying, Pam Bondi's confirmation hearing had more plot twists than a telenovela, and about as much credibility. Back in his FBI office, Director Wray reviewed the case files one final time. His deputy, Paul Abate, knocked on the door. Sir, the Attorney General's office is requesting all materials related to the Bondi Patel investigation. Wray nodded grimly. Of course they are. Package everything up. Make sure the chain of custody is ironclad. Sir, off the record, how did you know she would lie? Wray leaned back in his chair, looking older than his years. 30 years in law enforcement teaches you to read people. Bondi's been covering for Patel since day one. When someone's that invested in protecting another person, they'll usually choose loyalty over truth. Even under oath? Especially under oath, that's when the pressure is highest. The hearing recessed amid chaos. Bondi stumbled out of the chamber, refusing to answer reporters' shouted questions. Her staff formed a protective huddle around her, but the damage was irreversible. By evening, Free Republican senators had announced they would not support her confirmation. By midnight, that number had grown to 7. By the next morning, Trump's transition team was reportedly discussing replacement candidates. The fallout was swift and merciless. Fox News ran a segment titled, When Loyalty Becomes Liability. Tucker Carlson said, Pam Bondi forgot the first rule of politics. Never lie when the FBI has receipts. Trump remained silent for 18 hours before posting on Truth Social. Pam Bondi was not properly prepared for her hearing. Sad. The post was devastating. No defense, no loyalty, just abandonment. Bondi's phone stopped ringing within hours. Kash Patel went into damage control. His attorney claimed that $2.4 million was legitimate consulting fees for energy sector analysis. But Patel had no background in energy consulting. The Brazilian connection remained unexplained. Legal analysts predicted both could face federal charges within weeks. Former prosecutor Joyce Vance summarized, This isn't just about lying to Congress. This is about conspiracy to hide foreign influence at the highest levels of government. The irony was perfect. Bondi had spent her career prosecuting others for fraud and corruption. Now she faced potential federal charges for the same crimes she had once pursued so aggressively. Director Wray's final comment to reporters was devastating in its simplicity. The FBI follows the evidence wherever it leads, regardless of political affiliation. What happens when someone overestimates their knowledge in front of the nation? When confidence collides with evidence, truth has a way of surfacing at the worst possible moment. Pam Bondi learned this lesson in the most public way imaginable. If this story entertained or taught you a lesson about accountability in government, like, share, and subscribe for more political breakdowns. What's the boldest mistake you've witnessed in politics? Let me know in the comments below. This dramatized story is inspired by real events and public figures. All dialogue and incidents are fictionalized for commentary and educational purposes. No defamation intended, only illustration of error and accountability.